said to the Pharisees, "There was a rich man who dressed in purple garments and fine linen and dined sumptuously each day. And lying at his door was a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who would gladly have eaten his fill of the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. Dogs even used to come and lick his sores. When the poor man died, he was carried away by angels to the bosom of Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried, and from the netherworld, where he was in torment, he raised his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side. And he cried out, 'Father Abraham, have pity on me. Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am suffering torment in these flames.' Abraham replied, 'My child, remember that you received what was good during your lifetime, while Lazarus likewise received what was bad. But now he is comforted here, whereas you are tormented. Moreover, between us and you is a great chasm is established, to prevent anyone from crossing whom I wish to go from our side to yours, and from your side to ours.' He said, 'Then I beg you, Father, send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they too come to this place of torment.' But Abraham replied, 'They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them.' But he said, 'Oh no, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent.' Then Abraham said, 'If they will not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded if someone should rise from the dead.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Second, don't you tell me what you think that I can be. I'm the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea, oh, ooh, the master of my sea, oh, ooh. I was broken from a young age, taking my sulking to the masses, write down my poems for the few that looked at me, took to me, shook to me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message, from the veins, speaking my lesson, from the brain, seeing the beauty through the pain. You made me a believer, believer. Pain, you break me down and build me up, believer, believer. Pain, oh let the bullets fly, oh let them rain. My life, my love, my God, it came from pain. You made me a believer, believer. That would be the first 2 verses and the refrain of the great theologian, Dan Reynolds, who is with the band Imagine Dragons. The song, of course, is Believer. How many of you guys know that song? Yeah, great song. Oh, we're not done yet. We're going to get back to the song. There's still a few more verses to go. This song, though, it is incredible. When you actually sit down and listen to the lyrics, it talks about pain and suffering, the beauty of these things. Now, it's very autobiographical. When you do the research into this song, Dan Reynolds, who's the author of this song with Imagine Dragons, he wanted to try to convey some of his life lessons, things that he had learned. And in these first 2 verses, he talks about when he was a young man, he felt very entitled. Here he was, this very talented musician, this guy that was very much gifted in this vein and had a very promising career and life in front of him. And then out of the blue, this pain entered his life, this suffering. And he didn't know what it was at first. It was a physical pain. And he went to doctor after doctor after doctor, and finally he was diagnosed with this debilitating illness called ankylosing spondylitis, which is a severe form of arthritis that affects your joints, but primarily your spinal column. And he had this happening to him as a teenager. And there's no cure for this disease. And so he was looking out at his life and realizing, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in pain. And so in this reflection, these words that he writes, he talks about how, he's fed up, he's fired up, he's tired of this. He wants to be the master of his own sea. He wants to be in command of it. And that's basically what he tried to do. He tried to take command of the situation, and he plunged himself selfishly into his own needs and desires. He only thought about himself. He only thought about his own self-interest in the midst of this pain. And it made him miserable. That pain and that way of dealing with it, just this selfishness and being caught up in himself, because he felt like he was the only one in the world who knew what this pain felt like. He felt like he was the only one in the world that had any form of suffering like this. So he felt very isolated, very alone, and he fell into a deep and dark depression because of this. Now here we have in today's gospel this rich man that it doesn't mention his suffering and pain, but if he's like any human being I've ever met, he has suffering and pain in his life. But how does he deal with it? He dives into his luxuries and his comforts, his things in life that bring him some sense of control. So much so that he doesn't even notice the man outside his door who is suffering way worse than he is. He is blinded to that. And in that he fails to see anything else but his own sufferings, his own pain, his own selfish desires. And oftentimes that leads us to a very, very dark place. Third things third, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh, ooh, your spirit up above. Oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings they would drown. But they never did, ever lit, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up and it rained down. It rained down like pain. You made me a believer, believer. Pain, you break me down, you build me up, believer, believer. Pain, I let the bullets fly, I let them rain. My life, my love, my God, it came from pain. You made me a believer, believer. And that's what happened to Dan. He, in the midst of his suffering, realized he was not alone in this. He realized that many, many people share in the same sufferings and pain and tragedy and loss. We're in this together. And so he decided he could use this gift, this music, to reach other people, to reach out to them. And he suddenly saw that he was turning away from looking inward to looking out and seeing the needs of those around him. Plus, he started to realize that this pain, this struggle that he was in, it showed him that there was a God. It showed him that there was an entity up there that he could turn to in this, that he could give this suffering, that there was a God who so loved the world that he sent his only Son to experience pain and suffering, that these things purify us. They rid everything ungodly from us, everything of the world, everything around us that blocks God. The pain removes that, as does the cross. And suddenly he found in himself this God of love and mercy, a fire of love that purified. And he felt free for the first time in many, many years. In the story of today's gospel, we have Lazarus, this poor man who is suffering intensely. He's begging for scraps from the table. He's in such suffering that his sores are licked upon by dogs, stray dogs of the street. This is his misery and pain. But Lazarus doesn't make it to heaven just because he's a poor man who's suffering. He makes it to heaven because he sees God in his suffering. He sees Abraham. He sees Moses and the commandments in his pain, in his suffering. And because he can see it there, then when he makes it to the heavenly homeland, of course, he's going to see God there. He spent an entire life feeling God and seeing God even in the worst of his conditions. Last things last by the grace of the fire and the flames. You're the face of the future, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh. But they never did, ever lit, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up and it rained down. It rained down like pain. You made me a believer, believer. Pain, you break me down, you build me up, believer, believer. Pain, I let the bullets fly, or let them rain. My life, my love, my God, it came from pain. You made me a believer, believer. And And seeing God in those moments, that fire of His love that dwells within us and sometimes feels agonizing and painful, it purifies, so that I'm convinced, and there's theological theories about this, that when we get to the afterlife and we see God face to face, that heaven and hell are not two separate places, but instead the same reality. We even see it in today's gospel. The rich man ends up in the netherworld, as they call it, but he can see Abraham. He can see Lazarus up there, and even begs Lazarus. He's like, dip your fingers in the water and come and cool my tongue. Even in his torments, he is so self-focused. All he wants is his own comfort, his own pain to be removed. He wants water to satiate the fire on his tongue, not even asking if he could see God or see the angels and saints or be with him in heaven. He doesn't even care about those things. Because he spent a lifetime not caring about those things. But here's the thing. I'm convinced that the fire of God's love is the same fire that is felt in heaven and in hell. That if you spend a lifetime denying the love of God, failing to see Him in our pain and suffering, failing to see God in the everyday, then when we get to heaven and we're faced with His reality and the fire of that love, it will be torturous to us. Because we haven't spent a lifetime seeing what it is, acclimating ourselves to it, being ready to dwell in a fire that brings life and love and goodness and right and beauty and truth, which is what the fire of God's love is all about. Purification, eternal salvation. But if we turn away from that for a lifetime, then in eternity, that fire will be agony and misery. But it's the same fire. And hopefully for us then, the decision is very clear. We can either choose to spend this life like the rich man, turning inward, seeking our own selfish desires, making ourselves into our own God, which will be there for all eternity. Or we can take a lesson from the great theologian Dan Reynolds and poor man Lazarus. We can see that God's love is so powerful, profound, that it breaks through even the darkest nights of our soul. And the fire of God's love brings light into that darkness. And if we do pursue that path, then maybe we'll be a believer as well. Amen.
Amen.